Hello and welcome back to Radio Free Urbanism. I am one of your hosts. It's a podcast about urbanism and stuff. I just want to make that clear. That's what we're talking about on Radio Free Urbanism. It's urbanism and stuff.
And
I'm one of your
stuff.
hosts, Alex Williams, and I'm joined today by Ethan Myers. Wow, say hi,
Welcome
Ethan.
back, you beautiful people. It's great
Yeah,
to be back here. And
we
today we're going
lo-
to be talking about urbanism and stuff.
and
And
stuff,
stuff.
yeah. And of course, I'm also joined by the delightful Nick Laporte. Who are you happy to be back home?
I have mixed feelings about being back home, but yes, generally, it's nice to be back home. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm happy you're back home because the audio you were sending us was just garbage before, and you know what? It was getting to the point. I was seriously thinking about kicking you off the show and just finding you a replacement. We've got a lot of really great co-hosts who have joined us in the past, and I just think you're not that good, Nick.
That's fair.
It's
So I
literally
understand.
1 minute into the show, and we are once again talking about replacing hosts.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's bound to happen eventually. But we'll start with our updates here. Nick, tell us, what do you have for an update here?
I just have to finish off the trip, right? Because the last time I talked was 2 weeks ago. I was still in England, and a few other things happened. And one in particular, the last thing I need to talk about is especially interesting. But I visited Paris for a few days, which I have to say is probably the best cycling city outside of the Netherlands. At least in my experience, is probably the best place I've ever been for cycling in the world outside of the Netherlands. Maybe Japan is there, but as far as like dedicated infrastructure, it was amazing. Like incredible. And the amount of people I saw cycling around it's vast. It's really amazing how much they've changed that city. It was the first time I've been back there in I think 8 years, and it's like almost unrecognizable. Amazing. And I got some really great shots. I printed out some photos of some places that like Rue de Rivoli is one of the famous roads. It goes by the what's that famous Mona Lisa place with the triangle pyramid thing?
The
The
Louvre?
Louvre. And it's like night and day,
Pyramid.
a traffic choked boulevard is now a place where people move, which is just, it's incredible to see. It was really awesome. I'm really happy about that. I'd like to go back and spend a bit more time there in Paris. It was really great. But I also had an experience in the Netherlands. I had many, obviously, but going back to Amsterdam for a few days, more vacation time with my wife and some friends. They went to see Taylor Swift, and my wife accidentally booked the wrong hotel, which was like 40-minute bike ride away from the arena. We're like, whatever. We're in Amsterdam. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good ride. And let me tell you, it was fucking incredible. It was so nice. We took the ride. We were literally right by Schiphol, the airport in Amsterdam. Like that's
Right.
where our hotel was. It was in a terrible spot, but still the infrastructure was amazing. We took the ride across town to like southeast Amsterdam that took almost 40 minutes. And we stopped once. We stopped one time. The rest of the time, we just kept moving. We kept moving. We never stopped. It was amazing. It's just like, what are we doing here? It's incredible. So much park space. You can go across the town without even visiting any busy boulevards. You can just take side streets, go through parks. It was just so nice. But another thing I had too was I wanted to try these bikes I kept seeing. Do you guys know Van Moof? Okay, so it's a bike company that went out of business, but they're coming back. They got bought out, and two other companies, Cowboy and Ten Ways, make similar bikes, and they stand out. They just have these round tubes. They're electric bikes, really unassuming. A lot of them are just one gear, and I saw them everywhere in Amsterdam. I wanted to try one out, so I went to the store there, and I thought I have to like coax them into giving me one for a couple hours or something. Like, oh, I'm a YouTuber, I'm gonna do a review with these bikes or something. But I was just like, can I try one? He's like, yeah, here you go, and he like put a new battery in. He's like, oh, it has 54 kilometers. Take your time, have some fun. And I was like, what? Didn't have to give him my ID because when you do this in North America, they bring you to the back alley, you do a couple laps, and then you decide whether or not you buy the bike. I was gone for 2 hours riding this bike around Amsterdam. Came back and he's like, how was it? I was like, it was awesome. It was amazing. Just a totally different experience. And I don't know if that's normal for the Netherlands, but I was like, this is great. This is like, you get the real deal to actually experience the bike in context to see if you want to buy it or not. It was really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the last thing I have to talk about, and I'm not ashamed to say it, I drove in the Netherlands. I had a car for 3 days.
Ooh.
We were going to a very remote place, and we rented a car. And let me tell you, driving the Netherlands is very good. It is very good. Much like that ride I had to the Taylor Swift concert where I didn't stop. The experience is very similar in a car, especially outside of the city, as you just keep moving.
Their roads are nice.
They're nice.
Like quality, well-maintained infrastructure.
And you really feel the design speed is there. Like when you see a posted limit, you're driving that speed, you're like, yeah, this feels about right. The country roads, what's really nice about them, roundabouts. Oh, the roundabouts are so easy to navigate. And again, you just keep moving. There's no stop signs. I don't know if I saw a single stop sign my entire time driving. I probably drove, I don't know how many hours, at least close to 10 hours of driving in total. And yeah, it was really impressive. There's a lot of things we need to talk about when it comes to driving, because there's fears that people have when you start to push these things we talk about in urbanism, transit and cycling. They think you want to take away their car. And what you see when you go there, you find that the transit is very good. The cycling is obviously in Amsterdam and the whole country amazing, but the driving is also better. Like, we can have it all, folks. We can have it all.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's not congestion. The last time I drove was driving from Rotterdam to Amsterdam on Monday morning at rush hour, and there was congestion on the highway, like occasional congestion, but overall it was pretty good. And when I got to Amsterdam, especially closer to the city center, totally fine, because people don't drive in the city center. Like, there's just not a lot of traffic, and it was really good. Like, we can have it all. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But
they do an amazing job at, we've talked about it before, that right tool for the job, right? And we're going to talk more about that later on the show. We have a couple stories that really tie in with that idea. But yeah, the right tool for the job. Like being able to look in your garage and say, well, where am I going? And then make the decision whether you're going to walk, bike, drive, take transit. Like, you can make that decision because the infrastructure for all of those things is fantastic, and you can make that decision based on where you're going and how long you're going to be out, whatever your needs are for that day. You have those options. Like, it's nice to have just a variety of options at your disposal. So I'm glad you were able to enjoy that.
It was amazing. Yeah, great trip. Learned a lot.
Sounds great.
And I have so much. The last thing I want to ask. I have so much content that I have probably like 10 video ideas. Are they all going to get it done? Probably not, but there's a few key ones I'm definitely going to make. But I have a question for you guys right now. I'm going to ask you both. How many gigabytes total of gross footage do you think I have collected over the 3 weeks I was gone? This is over Montreal, the Netherlands, the UK, Paris, a little bit in Germany. Almost
300 gigabytes. I'm going to say you went balls to the wall.
I'm going to say 80.
80 gigabytes? Okay. Well, Ethan was definitely closer, that's for sure. And our total number, actually, 572 gigabytes.
Oh my god!
That's like all 4K 60 drone footage. My phone.
Okay, if it's 4K 60,
handheld. Yeah. Obviously, that's gross. I've gone through some of it, but not even close to most of it. I'm going to delete probably 20 to 25%. I'm probably never going to use another 30 to 40%.
Yeah.
But it's a lot to wrangle in.
Wow.
Absolutely.
No, that's crazy.
That is incredible. I can't wait to see what videos come out of this for you. Ethan, what's going on with you?
Not some huge updates, but folks, stay tuned for some new videos. It's been fun. It's always fun making new content, especially when it's 120 degrees out, and for our everywhere else in the world viewers, that is 48 to 50 degrees Celsius. So video editing is a very fun thing to do right now because it keeps me from even having to think about moving. Yeah,
that's horrible. I got on the call today, and I'm like sweating buckets. By the end of this show, I will just be drenched in sweat. It is 34 degrees here in Calgary. Ethan, when I got on, he kind of put me in my place. It's 48 degrees in Vegas. What is it over in Vancouver for you?
Today it's not that hot. It's 27, but the situation in my apartment makes it really hot because we just get so much sun.
Right. Well, and I don't have AC, so I'm just cooking in here. So if you hear, I also don't own a fan. Amazingly, I have in the past. I don't know where it is, lost in the move somewhere. But if you hear, if either any of us have bad audio quality, if you can hear fans and stuff in the back, it is not me. Okay, I am suffering so that I can have the highest quality audio for our audience.
Alex, you are sitting in stagnant air.
Oh yeah, I'm in pain. I am in a lot of pain.
How do you not
right
have
now.
a box fan?
I
Nothing.
I am not. I'm not a hot
How?
weather guy. I'm not a hot weather guy. I'm honestly, I'd rather it be freezing cold outside right now.
I mean, I figure, but like a box fan in Calgary. I mean, it doesn't sound like that far of a stretch.
Do you know what though? It's not. It's not. Everybody has fans. I don't know why I happen to not have a fan at this point in my life. I always have had a fan. I don't know what's happened to them.
Folks, if you want to help Alex get a fan, then please
Yes.
feel free to check out our Patreon. So that
Yeah,
way we can crowdfund Alex a new box fan, or even, if you really want to help support us, a portable AC unit. But also on top of that, you'll get access to our live show, which is awesome. We don't have anybody in the live show right now, but if you want to join that, you can absolutely join through our Patreon for just $1 a month.
Yeah, that's all. It's not that bad, and after a few months, I'll be able to get that fan, and it'll be November. So but for next summer, I'd really love to have that fan. Yeah, Ethan, did you finish your update? Sorry, I kind of
yeah, I
hijacked
did.
it with
I
the
did.
weather thing there.
I did.
So my update here, I saw on Reddit today on the Calgary subreddit somebody asking. They said, "Hey, everybody's saying thank you to the bus driver when they get off. Is this a normal thing here?" And a bunch of replies in the comments said, "Yeah, it's totally normal. That's what you do. You say hi when you get on the bus. You say thank you when you get off the bus." I think it's a common courtesy thing, and I think it's those little things. You know, when we talk about urbanism and stuff, when we talk about making our cities better places to live in general, a lot of the time we focus on the built environment and how we get around it, right? We talk about bikes and we talk about housing and all of those things. But a big part of it is how we personally and individually build that community. And I think like a simple thing like saying thank you to your bus driver, it's so easy. It's such an easy way to make your city a better place and a more pleasant place and a more connected place. And so I'm really happy that in Calgary that's like a normal thing that you do. If people don't do that in your city, it's something you can start, and you'll notice that other people will start joining in because they'll see somebody do that and they'll say, "Oh, that's kind of just like a normal thing to thank the driver." Yeah, what is it like? Do you guys hear a lot of thank yous on the bus in Vancouver or Vegas?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I usually do. Unless somebody else does, then I'm just like, it's okay. He heard something. Or
Yeah.
he or
Yeah.
she heard something. But make sure you thank the SkyTrain driver if you're ever in Vancouver.
Yes,
That's an
yes,
inside
yes. Yeah,
There's no drivers.
very hardworking. What about you, Ethan? In
Oh,
Vegas?
it's actually a pretty common thing. I'd say probably about 80% of people do it. The only time
Nice.
I don't hear people do it is if they're in a rush or like they're the grumpiest person imaginable. But yeah, I mean, I see it pretty common out here. I've seen it pretty common in a lot of different places too. So
Yeah.
it seems
Yeah.
to just be a very common courtesy thing.
Yeah, saying thank you. It's such an easy little thing to make your neighborhood just a nicer place to live. So yeah, I actually on the note of saying thank you to train drivers, I know the SkyTrain doesn't have any drivers, but the C Train does here in Calgary. And if I'm at the front of the train and I get up to the front before the train departs, I'll give a little wave to the operator because they're kind of stuck in their little booth there, and they can't hear anybody.
They might even give
stepping
you a
out
little
the
honk or
door.
a little bell ring too.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice. I love the little bells and whistles. Except on the older trains, they're really loud and kind of scary, which is fun to see as well. But let's get into our stories. Ethan, take us away.
Folks, we are going to be continuing our lovely talk about trains, but this time it's about passengers, and not just specifically passengers, the passengers who operate the service or run the whole agency. So this story comes to us out of the wonderful city of Atlanta, Georgia. Now, they have a transit council, kind of like most other cities, where it's usually people who are selected to lead the transit agency in their big decisions, expansion, funding, everything along those lines. But recently, someone actually FOIA'd the Freedom of Information Act, so basically getting government documents requested to them, about how often these counselors ride MARTA, which is both the buses, the one little streetcar line, and then the 4 metro lines that are in the Atlanta area. And so I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and we're going to take a look at all these ridership numbers, because they are very, very interesting. So you can see that some of them are really good, like Jim Durrett here, 379 trips. That's pretty good. We've got Collie Greenwood, the CEO of MARTA, 160 trips. And then you see people like Stacy Blackley, who in the one little amount of time has taken 1 trip on MARTA. Or Catherine Powers here, 1 trip on MARTA. Or, yeah, look, just so many. This is about half the board who does not frequently take MARTA. It's to me, I find it so crazy how these people are the ones who get to lead a city's transit agency, one with the metro, no less. Like, this isn't just buses. This is a whole metro system built for speed, and most people really only take MARTA once, twice, maybe 6 times. You'll have, half the council uses it fairly regularly. But yeah, you'll get members who barely use it. And should we really be letting people who don't use the transit agency be making decisions on public transit?
Right. Like, what are they there for? Right. What special experience are they bringing to it? If they don't even have like the boots on the ground experience, with the transit system that they're running, like that they, are in charge of.
Yeah, it's just, and I mean, I'm glad that we got this at least out of one agency, because I'm almost certain if we did this for other agencies, we would find very, very similar findings. MARTA tends to be kind of, I would say, very middle of the road when it comes for U.S. transit agencies, especially for a city of its size. And I mean, it's not surprising. It's just very, very disappointing to find out that the board members of MARTA, half of them don't take the system regularly. So how are they going to know how to properly represent the riders?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that goes across the board when it comes to politics, not just transit agencies, but when I know we have a politician here who doesn't even live in Vancouver, who's on the Vancouver council. It's like, what, like you don't experience living here. You come into the city and you leave the city every day. And on top of that, that means you're someone who drives into the city and you're making the decisions on all the types of transportation in the city as well. It's unusual. But yeah, so MARTA is like the entire metropolitan area of Atlanta. Is that what
so
that is?
MARTA is kind of interesting. It's 3 counties in the Atlanta metro area. I'm trying to remember which specific ones, but there are a few that did opt out of joining MARTA back in the day when it was formed. But MARTA does encapsulate most of, like, the city of Atlanta proper it encapsulates, and then some of the suburbs surrounding it. But regardless, I still think it is ridiculous, even if you are representing one of these more far-out suburbs, to only have taken MARTA once in, like, a 2-year span.
Right. Yeah. You'd think that there'd even be some sort of, like, okay, well, you know what? Like, because I'm in charge of the system, I better go check it up, right? Like, I should just hop on, take it, ride it for a few stops, at least maybe ride 1 full line, maybe, and then ride back to the park and ride and grab my car and go, right? Like, just do something to familiarize yourself with that system. Austin writes in the live chat, he joined us here. He says, dang, one of Calgary's councillors was on blast for spending much of the COVID year in Saskatchewan with his family while his wife was battling cancer and getting treatment over there. Okay, wow, that's
pretty harsh.
Yeah. I was actually not in Calgary during lots of COVID, so I'm not familiar with this scandal. But that's like, Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So
I have
ride
kind of
transit.
a I have kind of a crazy idea. I think maybe not to this extent, but I think it is a really good idea to propose that people who do run transit agencies are required to take said transit for a certain amount of time out of the year. I've honestly had the more radical idea of making them only get around by public transit.
That's pretty radical.
Yeah, it's pretty radical, but I mean, hey, you would see a substantial boost to the system if, or at least you'd at least see Dial-A-Ride get a substantial boost. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely something that should be, a little more held accountable when it comes to actually having our representatives who are supposed to represent the best interests of riders rather than, taking it once every 2 years.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine that. Like, I don't even know how you end up that way as just a normal person, let
Yeah.
alone someone who's actually on the board, right? The agency.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just, that's wild.
Yeah, and that's been a big frustration for people in Calgary as well. People will often complain that our politicians don't take transit enough. I know there are a few who do, but people see the mayor hop on transit with a couple of bodyguards for like a photo op sort of thing, and it becomes like this big issue because people are worried about transit safety, right? And if the people who are making those decisions have no experience with it or have this very sterilized experience with it, right? They take transit in the middle of an afternoon with a bunch of people around them and a bunch of cameras and an entourage, right? It's like those people aren't really experiencing what the everyday citizen in the city is experiencing. And so, yeah, and then with MARTA, like this is their job. It's not even just that they're like a politician who needs to juggle a lot of things. This is their thing. This is the thing they're in charge of. And yeah, that's frustrating.
It's like if the CEO of McDonald's went to McDonald's once a year.
Yeah, I saw there was a video of like the CEO of Chipotle.
Oh, yeah.
And he's sitting there and he's like, my favorite thing on the Chipotle menu is I like the chicken.
My order
And
is
like,
a chicken
it's like
bowl with
yeah, this the caption was this man has never been to Chipotle.
he is not walked
which
through
maybe he has, maybe he's just bad on camera, but also like it's a lot. Like
my favorite MARTA station is Peachtree Center.
yeah. It's like yeah. It's people unfamiliar with something trying to run something, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, it really is. But I mean, yeah, let's find a way to hold our leaders accountable on that.
Yeah. Well, is that the end of that story? Want me
Absolutely,
to
we can
roll
move
on
into
to
your
mine?
lovely story, Alex.
All
what are we talking
right.
about now?
We are talking about the Calgary Stampede. So the Calgary Stampede is the biggest rodeo thing ever. And we have like over 1 million visitors, and it's one big party. And Nick in the chat is saying yeehaw, Ethan's saying yeehaw, but Austin got it right. We say yahoo here. Sunday we had 200,000 people go to the Calgary Stampede. That's one day. 200,000 people visited the grounds, and there were a lot of issues with transit because it was full, completely full. Every train was totally full to the brim, and it left a lot of people frustrated, saying, "Why aren't we running 4-car trains? Why don't we have higher frequencies?" These are all major concerns, and I think this might be one of those moments where we realize, like, we got to invest in our transit system because it's a necessity. People know that you cannot drive to Stampede. It's not possible. There are 200,000 people showing up to an event downtown. How are you going to drive there? Everybody knows that the train is the best way to get there, but then the train is completely and totally full. So I think we're kind of having this moment where we're realizing that we need to invest in more train cars. We need to invest in more options to get there. Austin mentions that he rode his bike around Stampede on Sunday, and he blew past all of the car congestion and past the train congestion too, because it was packed. So I think this is one of those moments where we're realizing, this right tool for the job is a necessity, because that was our record breaking 200,000 people. That's the most that have ever shown up in a single day to the Calgary Stampede. Yeah. What do you guys?
Well, I think much like the opposite of the Black Friday parking, right? Do you guys know what that is? That's basically going on Black Friday and seeing that parking lots for big shopping malls or big box stores are not full, which is they're designed to be. They have capacity for those days, or that basically that's when they'll be full, and that's when they'll utilize all this parking that's built for them. Well, here we have a situation where we don't even have enough transit for the busiest day in the year, the busiest time of year for Calgary. It's time to shape up. Get this stuff fixed. This is not good enough.
Yeah,
we can also see the opposite of this happening, where a city actually did have more than enough transit to deal with it. I don't know if you guys saw, but WMATA for the 4th of July, which is the DC Metro, actually had one of their stations right near where the fireworks are held down there emptied out within 90 minutes because they were running like extremely high frequency trains, and I believe it was like 8-car trains as well, basically maxing out platform length and frequency on the line. And that's because of the good work of their transit management there. But it really is great seeing that in cities, and seeing a good model in the US on how we can actually deal with these big events. Train.
Well, and I'll add too that transit conveniently is this kind of squishy system, right? You can adjust as the needs change, right? So during Stampede on one of our lines, on the red line, we have had 5-minute frequencies throughout the day, right? Unfortunately, on Sunday, for some reason, they still only had like a modified weekend service, and they had 10-minute frequencies for some reason. But when you're able to kind of squish that, right? You can say like, okay, well, during Stampede, we're going to have like 5-minute frequencies with 4-car trains running 24/7 because it's packed. There's things going on all day long, all night long, right? And then during the regular year, right? During the rest of the year, when it's not as packed, when you're not moving 200,000 people to one specific location in the city, you're able to say like, okay, well, during this time, we'll maybe run 3-car trains at 5-minute frequencies, or 4-car trains at 8-minute frequencies, right? You have that malleability, right? When we build a parking lot like that, it's just a parking lot, right? But with transit, we're able to kind of squish and pull and say like, okay, well, we need this much because we need to build capacity for, a Taylor Swift concert coming in or something like that, right? We're able to play around with those numbers and adapt to the specific situation that we need that transit to serve that week or day or weekend.
Yeah. So I have a question about this. So coming back from Europe, I took the tube in London, I took the metro in Paris, took the metro in Amsterdam. And what I noticed coming back to Vancouver was just how small the platforms are in the SkyTrain, in the underground stations. So this is more a question for Ethan and for Alex, I suppose. But I haven't been to Calgary since before COVID, and I took the train there a few times. But what are the limitations when it comes to that? Like if you have a small platform, how big of a limitation is that for this flexibility?
I mean, if you have a smaller platform, it's going to limit how long you can actually do, train sizing. Like, if you have a smaller station platform, obviously you're going to be running smaller trains. But there are other limitations too, such as signaling and, everything else that has to go with with any sort of rail transit. But, I mean, realistically, the bigger you build your stations, the more capacity they're going to have. The smaller you build your stations, the less capacity they're going to have. It really, once again, is a space game there. If you can run a 4-car train into a station, you're going to be able to move more people through that station than, say, an 8-car, or than, say, a 2-car station. But, I mean, yeah, there is also the issue of signaling, too, and, really, more efficient signaling systems can increase frequency and make you able to run more trains through an actual line. because you can have narrower spacing between trains when they're in operation. But yeah, there are really a multitude of factors, but bigger is better.
Yeah, trying to prepare for that, and I think it's trying to balance balancing like a future proofing, but also doing something that works for you, like getting you there, right? So in Calgary, we didn't upgrade our train platforms to 4-car service until 10 years ago, I think, or something like that, is when we completed that project. Before that, it was 3-car platforms, but they had space where they were able to expand as needed. So at least trying to think ahead and prepare for that capacity building as the city grows, because we keep year after year the C train is getting busier and busier. We are serving more and more people. And so trying to make sure that we build that capacity. And then instead of running into the issues that we've had this weekend where the train car is completely full and the doors won't close because people are overflowing.
And then, of course, you do also reach, modal capacity constraints as well, too. Light rail is a great option, but unfortunately, at some point, it's going to reach its capacity limit. And I mean, events like Stampede can really, really push that, especially for light rail. Obviously, of course, a heavy rail metro will have a little bit more capacity when it comes to that. But you also have to weigh, cost over, how often you're going to be seeing an event like this. Calgary's not going to rip up the C train to build it into a proper metro just because of Stampede. But, I mean, eventually there are limiting, constraints as well, too. And, what are there? There's 2 C train lines as well. So, possibly building a 3rd line to relieve congestion from other areas as people were probably driving to stations that they don't normally go to.
Right, and the third starts construction this year. The Green Line, and that will relieve a lot of pressure off of the Red Line. Because I know that's part of that capacity build.
Because I know a lot of feeder buses also feed into the C train, and that can also kind of amplify those effects. We're literally talking about suffering from success here, though. I mean, this is the problem you want with transit.
This is a good problem. Like, we have a really successful transit system, and there are more improvements coming to it. So yeah, I'm excited. It's kind of kickstarted this conversation, and with so many people on the Stampede grounds, it's also kind of fostered more conversation around the ideas of doing some open street initiatives on 17th Avenue, kind of trying to expand that event space a little bit. So that there's more capacity when dealing with those massive crowds. So I think potentially next year we might see some progress on those things. So I'm excited to keep following that. But Nick, take us on to your story.
This is an update from something we talked about a while ago. I know I talked about it with Lucy Maloney from Visions Air Vancouver. She was on the show a while ago for a bonus episode, which was a very good episode. Go check it out. It was probably the best episode I've ever done, but she was amazing. We talked about it a little bit, so I'm going to go over this. So basically, Vancouver City Council decided that they were going to take this plan on Beach Avenue, which is the basically western part of downtown Vancouver, where there's a beautiful bike lane, probably our busiest bike lane in the entire city. And a lot of people were misconstruing it as taking away the bike lane on a certain section, just these 2 blocks on the more western or northern, however you're looking at it, close to Stanley Park, that section. But what they were really doing was moving the bike lane over into park space and rebuilding that so that they can reinstate 2-way traffic with a parking lane so that cars can go both ways in and out of Stanley Park. Currently, they can only go into Stanley Park at this particular location, which works as a good modal filter. And it was going to cost $16 million, which is a lot of money, right? Considering that the same council rejected spending $20 million to ensure that we could have bike lanes down an entire corridor of Broadway that's being built right now, so they won't have to spend even more money later down the road to get it done when we actually get their heads out of their asses and realize that this is actually a priority. I feel a little strong about this, just if you didn't realize. But basically what happened is that this is still in the purview of the park board. And they decided that the city council should go fuck themselves. And they are not going to do this, which is amazing, right? Which is cool. However, the thing is, the city council has also decided that they are going to abolish the park board later this year after the provincial election. The province has decided to back that decision to get rid of the park board. So this is just a delay, I imagine. This inevitably is going to be changed, which, you know what, it sucks. It's great that, if this happens the way they say it's going to happen, we'll still have this bike lane, this beautiful bike lane that'll go in and out of Stanley Park. Awesome. However, the situation that we created during COVID is that we've made it a calmer place. Fewer cars are coming in and out of there. More cars are going to be coming from the North Shore through Stanley Park. More cars into the park to Rat Run. Again, they closed that off during rush hour. I know that, but still, out of those hours, it just means more traffic. That's it. You get more lanes in, more traffic's going to come in. There's going to be more accidents. Now you're going to have a wider road for cars to come down. It's not a good idea. It's not the direction we want to go. This is regressive. And it's taking away green space in the park. Even if that's just 2 blocks, about the width of a bike lane, a 2-way bike lane, or a footpath that's going to be installed, it's taking away that green space, which really sucks. Now, to top all of this off, there was a response that Ken Sim, the mayor of Vancouver, had put out. So I'm going to share this here on the screen, and I'm going to read it. And, well, it got everybody up in arms because it didn't work out this way. So anyway, Ken Sim tweeted this. He said, last night's park board's decision to let down Vancouverites. The elected park board made the irrational decision not to grow and expand park space in the West End. They also said no to safer streets by turning down a fully funded AAA bike lane and improved pedestrian crossings. Now, he got ratioed. As you can see, the likes and the responses were basically the same. And that's usually not a good sign. But it doesn't make sense. It's like he's lying right to people's faces. He's, as we had in the comments earlier, he's get the Haktua in the faces of Vancouverites. Like, what does that mean? Like, grow and expand park space? Fund a fully funded AAA. This is $16 million spent just to add a lane for cars. That's it. There's already a lane for bikes there. It's already safe. It's fine. That's all it is. And he's just lying. It's just bullshit. And the response from the community was fantastic. People went out to the meeting that happened for the park board before they made this decision, and it was overwhelmingly in support of saying, no, we don't want this to happen, which was great. And I think that definitely influenced their decision to not go through with this. Again, like I said, it's probably going to happen down the road. But anyway, what do you guys think about this?
That's super frustrating. You bring up like the money issue. There's a lot of times that we just like spend money where it's not needed, right? Like, I think trying to be a little smarter with our city finances and a little bit more reasonable about these trade-offs, right? You mentioned that there's already, a safe cycling infrastructure there. Those are basically my thoughts. I'm not as well versed on Vancouver things as you are, but that's my 2 cents.
I hope not.
Well, I mean, hey, you know what? The delay is a delay, and that, allows for people to actually build, more of a cohesive movement to actually opposing the changes in the actual, street there. So hopefully it can at least be delayed long enough to where the city council, might reconsider their decision following an election. But, I'm not too well versed in Vancouver politics, so, that's my 2 cents there.
Yeah, it's just...
Together we have 4 cents, which gets rounded up to a nickel. So that's for you, Nick.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm going to take that and keep it, put it in the bank. Yeah,
actually, it's like 7 cents if you consider my American to your Canadian.
Well, okay. In that case, 7 cents gets rounded down to a nickel. So it all works out to the same thing.
Yeah, so we'll see how this goes. I'm sure we'll have updates on this in the future. Overall, I'm very happy with this, just to be the big middle finger to our anti-bike lane city council. I know we've had some wins too with the reduction to 30-kilometer-hour streets for local streets, which is good. There's been some good things, but it's just like, what are we doing? Like, are we just lying to get more people to vote for us because they don't understand how these things fucking work? Or does he actually believe this bullshit that he's spewing? Like, it just seems crazy that you wouldn't realize that the way out of our traffic problems is not to build more space for cars. It doesn't work. We know that.
It's the
Yeah.
woke mob attacking my freedom to drive everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the way out of the traffic problems is to make more options available
Yeah.
to people,
Yeah.
right? It'd be nice if I didn't have to drive to get groceries every day, right? Like, it'd be much nicer if, the groceries were at the end of my street and I could just go pick them up. And yeah, we know how to do that. And in some places that those solutions are easier to implement than others. And I think Vancouver is one of those places where the solution is easier to implement than many other places.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
with the already, well-built environment that at least downtown Vancouver has, I mean, maybe
Yeah.
a little bit easier to swing the motion over
Yeah, I'm
towards.
taking the white pill. I think things are going to get better. It's going to take a while, but we'll get
Yeah.
there. Vancouver's going to be back on track, and hopefully we can turn this city into potentially the greatest cycling
there.
city in North America at
It's
some
right
point.
there.
We're not there
Yeah.
anymore, but that's definitely Montreal in my opinion. But anyway, listener
Yeah.
mail. Let's go on to listener mail. And this first one, Ethan's
Yeah.
taking
All
it
right. So this one,
Wait. I wanted to do the listener mail jingle.
away.
we have a listener mail jingle.
Yeah. I'm jingling some keys or some pins. Listener mail, it's time for listener mail. Here we go to the listener mail.
I'm ready for listener mail. I don't know about you guys.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm
also,
ready.
I'll show
Now
off
I'm
real
ready.
quick. I got these pins.
Oh, beautiful.
From Calgary Economic Development
Blue Sky City.
and this one. Yeah.
See.
So those are
Wow, I didn't know that the Twitter clone had its own city.
Yeah. So, yeah, you guys, it's I'm out here in the blue sky city, just cooking away, losing my energy, slowly melting in this hot summer heat.
At least the sky's blue, right?
Yeah, Calgary. Actually, we really do have blue skies. Sunniest city in North America. We have 333 days of sunshine. So, beautiful place. But today, I'm a cooking. Yeah, Ethan, kick us off
All
here.
right,
Now
folks,
that I've done the jingle.
This piece of listener mail comes to us from St. Louis-U9IZ. And they commented, the way you described Portugal, the abandoned building with nice stuff still all around, which comes to us from Nick of the Rural Urbanist last week, reminds me of St. Louis. So Portugal reminded them, or the description of Portugal reminded them of St. Louis.
How do you feel about that? I gave that one to you because you've been to St. Louis, right?
I mean, I've never been to Portugal, but I mean, it kind of is accurate in a way. I mean, for certain neighborhoods, yes.
Right.
You will have a lot of neighborhoods where you'll have like, it's on the cusp of like redevelopment, and so you'll have like these like either brand new high-rise apartments or like a renovated loft or something like that out of an old industrial building. And then,
Right.
a block over, you'll have the crumbling needs to be bought out and turned into lofts building that is just crumbling away and is like an asbestos factory or something. Like it's
Right.
kind of similar. I mean, I could see the description fitting it, but I mean, like then it fits pretty much most Rust Belt cities. But I mean, yeah, mildly accurate. I'd just have to see Portugal in person to confirm that.
Yeah. Austin says in the live chat, he says, I've been to St. Louis. Lion's Choice is a must eat. Other than that, the Blackhawks game was more fun than the Blues game. So, all right. Thanks, Ethan, for Austin.
Go to
for
Fitz's
educating
if
us.
you go to St. Louis.
Fitz's?
Yeah, they make their own like custom sodas, and they'll make anyone into like the most insane ice cream floats ever. I had a root beer float, and it was like a giant, like full on like Stein glass with root beer, and then like 6 scoopings of vanilla ice cream on it.
Man, that sounds nice. That reminds me of the way A&W Canada used to do good root beer floats, and now they just pour out some root beer and throw in a hockey puck of ice cream. It was disappointing the last time I got a root beer float from A&W. It upset me. and I'm still reeling from it. Nick, you got the next comment for us?
Sure, I can do some reading. Absolutely. This is from Austin Surson. Who's this guy? He must be new. It says, my ideal train might be one that has a car from many different countries. What? What does that mean? Each with their own cafe section serving street food. I'm thinking what's Chimaik Korean fried chicken car for K-pop with K-pop playing. Maybe a soul food car with Southern comfort food, a Mexican car. Oh, I'm going to stay in that one with incredible tacos, etc. Yeah, absolutely. What's in the Canadian car? Is it just poutine and maple syrup?
Just Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
On order. It's just a Tim Hortons
literally
cafe
just
car.
a Tim Hortons. Yeah, with like 3-day-old donuts.
Yeah.
And employee abuse. Yeah, that's in the Canadian car. Actually, no, the Canadian car I think would be good to have poutine and we could have like pancakes with maple syrup too. Like that's like a Calgary thing, right? And then
That's a Calgary thing?
Pancakes.
Okay.
Like during Stampede, you literally get all you can eat free pancakes for 10 days. So
that's interesting.
And it's like
that is interesting.
Yeah, that's where all the politicians in Canada show up to this thing.
Is it a specific place, or it's just that you go anywhere? They're like,
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. You have to be served pancakes.
Yeah, you can literally just wander around the city and you will find a pancake breakfast.
Wow.
So every politician in the city hosts a pancake breakfast. There'll be like each party will have a pancake breakfast. Each like municipal, federal, provincial, like they all have pancake breakfasts. And then each neighborhood does a pancake breakfast. Businesses, like business improvement areas, they'll all do a pancake breakfast.
I just know the Conservative Party is cheaping out on their pancake breakfast. They're having like the most generic pancake mix possible.
They're using butter-flavored Aunt Jemima syrup.
Do you know what? You guys, listen. I went to 2 pancake breakfasts this week so far, and one was hosted by the NDP, and one was hosted by the UCP. Those are like Alberta's 2 main political parties. I went to both of these pancake breakfasts. The UCP one, the Conservative Pancake Breakfast, blew the NDPs out of the water. So the NDP, they had maple syrup, which was like snazzy. So obviously money wasn't the issue, but they didn't have sausages for some reason. They just had pancakes, eggs, and maple syrup. And I was like, guys, where are the sausages? But then I go, like, they also didn't have live music or anything, and that was kind of a bummer. And then I go to the Premier's Pancake Breakfast downtown, and they have a live band playing. They had like a show band at one point, and then I got my pancake. I got my pancakes, and I got sausages with it. Although their sausages were like dog chew toys, like they were not very good.
I'd
sausages.
almost rather have no sausage at that point. I mean,
I know. I
can't give credit for bad sausage. That's like the worst. I still ate
4 of them though.
You eat them with like the most intense guilt. You were like,
here's the thing. I'm a firm believer that free food is good food. Like you could put dirt on a plate and be like, don't worry, it's free. And I'd be like, sweet, dinner. Like, listen, I eat beans and rice. So, like free pancake breakfast, just sign me up.
Yeah.
Sign me up. I'll show up to that party. But this is basically like how politics goes down in Alberta, in Calgary. All the politicians have to make their appearance at the Stampede with their cowboy boots and cowboy hats and jeans and shirt that they wear just for these 10 days and not at any other time during the rest of the year. And it's a party. It's a party. It's kind of interesting. Maybe someday we'll do like a full analysis of the Calgary Stampede. It's an interesting thing, but I think we could have our place on that Canadian train car. But I'm like Nick. I would be on the Mexican train car 100%. Like if you told me I could only eat cuisine from one specific country for the rest of my life, it'd be Mexican cuisine. 100%, hands down. easiest decision I have ever made in my life.
I could eat chimichangas every meal of the day. Just,
Chimichangas
one
are
after
actually
another.
they're an Arizona thing.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well,
Doesn't matter.
doesn't matter.
It's going to be at the
Doesn't
Mexican
matter.
restaurant.
It's gonna.
There's no
yeah,
Arizona
yeah.
restaurant car. I'm sorry.
Ethan, what would you choose? What cuisine?
If we're going cuisine, I could just join in on on the wonderful Mexican train car. I would go with that food.
Right.
But I mean, like if
Right.
I had to pick a second one, because I know everybody's picking the Mexican train car here, I'm going with the Thai train car.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm down for that. Yeah, I'm all in on the Mexican train car. What is going on? For some reason, Microsoft Edge just loaded up on my computer.
Oh no.
Boy,
You're done for.
what is going on?
Bill Gates has found this podcast. We're cooked.
Bill Gates has found us.
Hey,
Run
it's actually
away.
a pretty decent browser. In my
It is. I
experience.
actually use it.
Yeah.
I've heard it's pretty decent.
It's basically
but,
Chrome. Come on.
I'm used to Chrome, so it's got all my settings.
Chrome
saved,
just
so,
takes up all my RAM, and I'm not digging that.
Yeah,
It is a
I have
RAM hog.
infinite RAM, so
He downloaded more RAM.
Yeah, I downloaded more RAM. Actually, my computer runs on a ZPM, and that's a 0-point module. Stargate reference for any science fiction nerds out there. Great show, great show. This has been a great show. We've got one more comment to read here, and that is from our dear friend Jen Hall, who said, when you staycation in your respective cities, where do you like to explore as a local vacationer? Ethan, we'll start with you.
All right, there is one little place that I love to go to, and it is the city right next to the Hoover Dam. It is called Boulder City, and it is the cute small town vibe that Vegas just does not have in any regard. Luckily, it's only 15 minutes away. It's got some really nice little restaurants, some lovely little bars there. You can actually run into wild bighorn sheep in the town's parks. It's right next to Lake Mead, and it's got a ton of really good hiking and actually bike trails around there too. So if you're ever in Vegas and you don't like Vegas, well then, Boulder City.
I dig. Nick, what about you?
How far are we talking? What's local?
Within your metro-ish area. Ish.
Yeah,
I think.
I'm a go far or go nowhere kind of guy usually, and if I have time off and I don't have to go anywhere, I end up working on stuff at home. But Whistler, I guess, or Squamish, that's like an hour away. We go there
Yeah.
relatively frequently, but usually that's with
Yeah.
visitors. But yeah, there's definitely lots of places to visit around. But for me, it's definitely going to be Squamish, which sadly is an hour drive, and there's no train that goes up there. Why isn't there a train that goes from Vancouver to Whistler and passes through Squamish? Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. That would be nice. Austin mentions in the live chat, which you can join as well if you sign up for the Patreon. Austin
Do it.
mentions Boulder City has a nice cycling path on the wash toward Hoover Dam. So yeah,
It's
that's nice.
it's an old rail trail. So it was the trail that there was a train route that they used to bring in material to build the Hoover Dam.
Yeah.
The track no longer exists there, but you can cycle or walk it. It's like 8 miles to Hoover Dam, but the whole way you get great views of Lake Mead, and you get to walk through
Yeah.
little tunnels. So
Yeah.
when it's not
And,
120 degrees out, it's perfect.
Yeah, seriously. Austin did record his bike ride there. If you search Austin Surson on YouTube, maybe I'll put a link to that in the show notes and description here. But yeah, he did a great video showing that that route. But yeah, for me, I like to go to Heritage Park. That is my favorite place in the city. It's a large outdoor museum, with a bunch of old antiques and antique rides and buildings and all sorts of stuff like that. I love it there. I could literally, if I was retired, if I'd never had to work, I'd just go and I'd sit on the steam train and I'd just ride around and chat with people visiting the city and chat with the people working there, talking about our history as a city. That's easily my favorite place in the city. I also love the zoo, so I'd maybe take a day there as well. But that's going to do it. I will mention one last comment here. one of our viewers, NYXW, left a long comment talking about Portugal and Portuguese railways. They are Portuguese themselves, so they kind of were explaining a few things in the comments. That's worth going back to the previous episode and just seeing what they chatted about, and maybe learning a thing or two. As we wrap up, I'll pass it to Ethan here with a final word.
Yeah, so folks, just a little thing. I didn't think it really needed to be a whole story, but Via Rail has a Canada's national rail network has a new livery for one of their trains. So we're going to check that out real quick before we hop on over and close this out. But this is called their Lumi. It's called their Lumi whatever livery. I was losing the name there. I keep forgetting it's the one thing trains and planes have in common is they have liveries. But I dig the yellow. I dig the yellow.
Yeah, I
Yellow
really
and
like
black
that.
train.
Yeah.
Say what you want about the corridor, but Via knows how to make a good-looking train.
Yeah.
Somebody had pointed out in the comments there about what's at the back of this train, and it looks like a big diesel engine in this picture.
Oh, it looks like it's Union Pacific for some reason.
Interesting.
I don't know what that means.
That's so goofy. Union Pacific's an
Yeah.
American railroad. They don't have any trackage in Canada.
Well, it's probably
It might be getting
it's probably
delivered,
just a
but
big thing. Yeah, I don't know. But that's
because
cool.
they make them in
That's cool.
make them in lovely Sacramento, California. So
Yeah. I'm excited for that. I love new trains, nice and fresh. I think Calgary's expecting to get some new trains.
You know what?
Maybe by the end of the year.
There's so many things that are just like, no, you can't write that. But if this whole the rail plan happens in Calgary, or not Calgary, but in Alberta, it's going to be like,
Yeah.
wait, what? Alberta
Everybody's
has the
gonna be
best
so
rail
mad.
in Canada.
Oh, we are.
Yeah,
it's
I hope so.
it's
I
happening.
hope so.
You better.
it's going to be
believe.
really
You better
weird
believe.
when North Carolina does the exact same thing, and people are like,
Yeah.
"Huh?"
Do you know what it is? Honestly, in Alberta, we just get shit done. Like we're pretty awesome. Once we decide, like, yeah, let's do that, then we're gonna do it. So get ready, stay tuned. Live podcast coming to you 2030 on the high-speed rail to Edmonton from Calgary. It's gonna be awesome. High-speed internet. I'm selling this thing. we better have it. That would be so cool.
High-speed
That'd be
rail by
awesome.
2030, just a week away.
Yeah, just a week away. I promise, we'll have it. I sure hope we'll have it. Yeah, if I have anything to say about it, I was joking with some people at a pancake breakfast that I was going to go out there and start building it myself. I'm like, can't be that hard. My ancestors crossed plains and farmed and did hard things. I can build a high-speed rail myself. I'm sure of it. No need for any specialized expertise, of course.
Max track speed 5 miles an hour.
5 miles an hour, yeah. You don't want to go very fast. It'll be a bumpy ride, 5 miles an hour even. But Nick, do you want to start wrapping us up?
Sure. How do I do that? That's not my job. Should I ask
I don't
somebody
know.
to?
Yeah. So I'll ask you. I'll say, hey, do you want to start wrapping us up? And then you can ask Ethan.
Hey, Ethan, do you want to start wrapping this up instead of
Yes, sure. Let's start wrapping this up. So, Alex, where can we find you?
Oh, I am so glad you asked. You'll be able to find me at Humane Cities on YouTube and Instagram. Someday I will post another thing on there. I promise. I really am working on some things.
Just one more day, guys.
you'll-
Just one more day.
Just one more day. You'll just have to stay tuned. Hey, Nick. Hey, Nick, where can we find
You
you?
can find me on YouTube at Nick Laporte or Nick the Door on other social media platforms. How about Ethan? Where can we find Ethan?
Oh, where can you find me? Where can you find me? You can find
Yeah, we
me
wanna
at
find
Climate
you.
in Transit on pretty much every platform except for Twitter. You can find me there at Climate Transit. Well, guys, it seems like we've come to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. And as always, train good, car bad.
Two wheels good.
And feet first.